Men live lives of quiet desperation. That has been a cliche for a very long time. Men sacrifice a great deal. We're taught when we're young that the man who throws himself on a grenade is a hero. But the man who sacrifices his self-respect is a loser. At what point do we go from being the hero to being the loser? Because the hero sacrifices everything. He sacrifices his life. The man who loses his self-respect and finds himself like a puppet at the end of someone else's string thinks he's sacrificing everything too. So today, I want to talk a little bit about what it means to have self-respect, how we lose it, and how you can get it back. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. This video is inspired by Alan, who sent me an email a few days ago describing a desperate situation that he's in. In a long-term marriage, he's supporting a woman and her 2 adult boys. He calls her a masculine woman, a woman who is more man than woman. His life with her is miserable. He feels like he's lost everything. He has thrown himself and his self-respect on that metaphorical grenade. And now not only does he hate her, but reading between the lines of his email, it sounds like he hates himself. He's in a no-win situation right this minute. So I hope that this video will help you, Alan, sort through what you're going through right now and find your path forward where you can reclaim your self-respect. Well, let me just read it to you and you guys can tell me what you think, because when you hear this, it definitely strikes a deep chord. It did with me, and I'm sure it will with a lot of you guys, so I'm just going to read it really quick. John, cannot tell you how much your content resonates with me. Want so badly to get to the nerve to start Life 2.0. I'm so tired of my lack of respect. Having a masculine wife fucking sucks. Living like a beaten dog sucks. Have lost my self-respect sucks. Feels like I'm on eggshells for fear of pissing her off sucks. There is 0 benefits to me in this marriage. Literally none. I do all the man's work and most of the so-called woman's work. I pay 100% of the rent and utilities so that she can support her 2 adult sons, and then she has the audacity to tell me that I hate her kids and that she helps them. She is a fucking covert narc like her mother, and I'm at my wit's end. I'm 55 years old and feel like a little bitch, and I'm so depressed that I allowed this mannish woman to control me. Yeah, I didn't tell you which parts were capitalized when all caps, but you kind of get the idea. This guy is definitely feeling the pain that happens when you sacrifice, when you continually sacrifice yourself. You know, it starts off by trying to be the good man, trying to maintain some level of peace in order in your life. So you don't allow your emotions to come out. You don't want to be the disruptive force in the relationship. You're trying your best to keep everything under control. But she sees that as weakness. Because you are not responding with some kind of an emotional line in the sand, she thinks that she can keep pushing. She can keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I see it with, children and with dogs. When they don't have a strong, hard boundary that they know they have hit the limit, they will keep stretching that limit as far as they can. And in this guy's case, what's happened to him is he has continually given to the point where she's taken everything. She's taken everything that he has to give, and including his self-respect. Helping you, if you're going through something like this, if you felt like you've lost your own self-respect, and helping this this guy in particular, is what this video today is all about. How do you regain your self-respect after you feel like you've sacrificed everything? I think that understanding how we get here is important because it's really easy to beat up on ourselves. And I think that we have to help, have responsibility. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. But I think you can also take a look at our environment and how this happens so easily to so many men. First of all, being self-sacrificing is pounded into men's heads from the day that they're born. Our society, at least in the Western world, and I think throughout the entire world, has pounded it into our brains that men must be willing to pay the price for society, for the women in our lives, for the children in our lives, for the people that we have relationships with. We are the sacrificial man. We are the ones that are going to go down with the ship in the end. We are the ones that must pay that ultimate price on behalf of others. Women will not do this. It's not in their nature. They are self-preserving. In order for there to be a balance in the universe, there must be one who's willing to give everything for those who need everything. And we are that source of sacrifice. We are the ones that bring that to the table. Now you combine that with the scarcity mentality that we have in the Western world. Capitalism runs on scarcity mentality. The idea that there's not enough, that there's a limited number of items. Diamonds are a perfect example of this. These things are just rocks in the fucking ground. They are just rocks in the fucking ground, okay? Yet, we try to make ourselves believe that these things are rare. And because they are scarce, they're difficult to find and get and to bring up to the surface, that they have value. This is the biggest scam, or one of the big scams that we have in our economies, our culture, and our society. The idea that we can assign this value has something intrinsic, that it's independent of the world, that it has a value at all, that it really has any value at all, you know? And that it's scarce. These ideas are concepts that we are gaslit into believing so that we will function in predictable ways and they can literally control us and take our money from us. But anyway, you take that scarcity mentality and you apply it to a self-sacrificing mentality, and you can see really quickly how men can get into really bad, difficult relationships and try to give everything that they have in order to make this relationship work. The scarcity mentality when it comes to women is that women are making all the choices. They're the choosers. You know, we're the beggars. You know, there's beggars and choosers. We're the beggars, they're the choosers. And getting a woman to agree to have a relationship with you is rare, it's scarce. This is the concept that we have. This is the mentality that we have. And so long as you have that mentality, it's true for you. Here's the thing that most people don't get. And I guarantee you there'll be lots of people in the comments that argue with me on this. Your beliefs about what is true in your life are only true for you, okay? It's only true for you. So if you believe that finding a good woman is a hard thing to do, if you believe that good women are scarce, if you believe that finding any woman is hard, that having a relationship with any woman is difficult, well, guess what? That rule only applies to you. You've made that rule for yourself, you know? It's not like that's an independent law of the universe. That's not the way things are out in the world. This is just how they are in your world. Like in your little brain, you're setting the rules for your life. And every time you make a new rule, you limit your opportunities. Anyway, when you set rules, you're just setting limitations for yourself. So when you come to the idea that women are hard to get, good women are hard to find, that you have to take what you can get, well, that rule's only true for you. And I think that's the way a lot of guys see relationships with women. You know, they see this scarcity mentality. And so they find this mediocre woman that they're not completely happy with, who has plenty of red flags, and they think, well, I'm gonna make this work. You know, I'm gonna figure out a way. She will do all the stuff that I need to get done. She knows how to make me happy in the bedroom. So I will make this work. I know she's a little bit of a flake. I know she's got some issues, but I need to make this work. Part of the Life 1.0 trap is that men need to be predictable. They need to be compliant. and they need to be sacrificial. These are the elements that make men useful to society. If you are not these things, then society will not find value in your existence. So we as men see ourselves from that perspective. And that's why it's so easy for us to get into unhealthy relationships and sacrifice everything, including our self-respect. And that's the thing that we never expect that we will give up. Because that's like that thin line between existing and not existing. Once that self-respect goes, you feel like there's nothing left of me. I am without purpose. I should not exist. That's the mentality that can evolve when that self-respect goes. And if you remember that letter, when I read it, you could kind of get that sense from Alan, who wrote that letter. You could tell that he's like he has nothing left to lose. He has given everything that he has, and there's nothing left for him to give. That's a desperate place to be. That's not a healthy place to be. That's a scary place to be. You don't ever want to find yourself in that situation. I've talked about Life 1.0 in other videos, so I'm not going to belabor it here. But just to remind you, Life 1.0 is all about you conforming to this plan that has been here for hundreds, if not thousands of years. This plan existed long before you came along. And it's all about becoming educated / skilled so that you can contribute to the world, finding a woman so that you can procreate, having a place to live, creating a life for yourself, and then supporting this family unit through thick and thin. You are the sacrificial man. So the plan makes you predictable, your adherence to the plan makes you compliant, and inevitably you're going to have to make some sacrifices in order to keep this plan working. Before the modern age, say before even this most recent century, this plan seemed to work for the most part, for most people, most of the time. Here in the last 20, 30 years, this plan is broken down. It doesn't work anymore. Feminism plays a big role in it. It's changed the balance of power in our relationships. The family court system has changed the balance of power in our relationships. The way our economy has evolved has changed a lot of that. Men are no longer as critically important. Our physical strength is no longer as important. In order to fill a lot of the jobs that are out there. They're all service jobs, tech jobs, things like that. So there's this huge disruption in the way that Life 1.0 works. Yet it has not adapted yet. Life 1.0 is still running the way it's always run. Even though this huge disruption has occurred, it's still continuing to function. It's like the taxi cabs in big cities after Uber came along, you know. Yeah, they were still there, but they were just barely in the background. Most people were calling on Ubers, they were on their apps. Uber disrupted the taxi cab industry. Well, these other factors have disrupted marriage. They've disrupted Life 1.0. And many men, the majority of men, are still trying to make Life 1.0 work for them because that's what they bought into early on. They complied with it. They are now in the sacrifice level of it. And they're thinking that these sacrifices that they're making are intended so that Life 1.0 will continue for them, so that their marriage will continue, their children will respect them, their wife will respect them, that their life will finally be happy at some point, that they'll reach some level of peace in their lives. And Life 1.0 will not get you there. For the vast majority of people, it will not get you there. And the reason it won't is because it's not your plan. Life 1.0 is not your authentic plan from the beginning. You're living someone else's life. You don't realize it, but you lost your self-respect long before you felt it. The self-respect was gone from the time that you started complying. From the moment you decided, I'm not going to make a plan of my own. I'm not going to follow my own dream. I'm going to submit myself to this preordained path, and I'm going to just go along with it. I'm going to go along to get along in order to live my life. That's when your self-respect died. You're just realizing it now. The realization that you've lost your self-respect usually comes in your 40s or 50s. That's when the stress, the pain, the anguish associated with this life overwhelms you. You can no longer ignore it. You no longer can just pretend that's not happening. You're compressing these emotions down into your body in order to maintain peace in your life with your significant other, with your woman, and with your children. So you keep pushing these emotions down, trying to hold everything together. And as you compress and compress and compress these emotions, they build up pressure. You know, there's a limited amount of space inside your spirit, inside your body, inside your mind, your emotional container. And eventually it starts to leak out. Sometimes it explodes. But once that starts to emerge from within you, and you start to have that realization that this is not your life, this is not the wife that you wanted, this is not the life that you wanted to live, now you're stuck with this existential crisis where you realize that you've dedicated your whole life to a plan that doesn't work. Yeah, you've dedicated your whole life to a plan that doesn't work. It's not working, and the prospects of it working are almost zero. So here you are, middle-aged, and in your mind, you're a failure because everything is collapsing down around you. This is where Life 2.0 kicks in. This is your only option. This is the only way forward. If you stay where you are, you will be like a zombie. You will be living dead. You will be the living dead. You are not going to have a fulfilling life if you continue on this path. The other path is you destroy the whole thing. You get a divorce. She divorces you. She leaves you. She dumps you. She robs you of half your stuff. Now you just hate her. Now you're just going to fall into this anger, rage, resentment, energy that just dominates your entire life. You die of cancer or heart disease, alcoholism, drug addiction, all of that stuff. That's the other option. Or you can go down Life 2.0. Life 2.0 is where you should have started to begin with. If you had waited a few years, you might have been able to join Life 2.0 right from the very beginning. You didn't need to go through all this pain. But now that it's happened, there's no point in beating yourself up. We all get where we are when we get there. We all have our lessons to learn. We all have to walk our paths. But you're here, and you have a choice, a free choice, to try Life 2.0. And Life 2.0 can maximize the time that you have left to live the life that you wanted. Step one on this recovery mission is a tough one. You're going to have to take responsibility for the whole thing. Now, it doesn't mean you're taking blame for the whole thing, but you got to take responsibility for it. That means that this has been laid at your doorstep. It's yours. It's your life. It's your marriage. It's your family. It's your career. It's whatever. It's yours. You own it. If you don't own it, if you don't take responsibility for it, you cannot change it. If you put responsibility on anyone else, anything else external to you, you cannot meaningfully change your situation. Now, like I said, you're not taking the blame for this. I'm sure there's plenty of blame to go around. End of the day is you made all the choices that brought you to this situation, right where you are, right here, right now. Regardless of any external factors, you made every decision that brought you to that place. So you have to assume that on some level, you're responsible for it. And the good news is, your responsibility gives you the power to change it. And that's the value that responsibility has, is you have the power to change it. Now, I'm not going to go through all the steps of acceptance and appreciation and attachment and forgiveness and all that stuff. We're just going to give a broad overview of the next 4 or 5 steps so you can at least reclaim your self-respect here. In the manosphere, there's a lot of performative guys, and it drives me crazy to see these performative guys talking about masculinity and having frame and all this stuff, because I don't think that they are sincere in their understanding of it. Frame is simply the rudder of your ship. That's basically it. Now, there's boundaries and things like that that go along with it, but the basic underlying theme here is that you need to have a mission. You need to have a purpose. You need to have a vision for your life. That is the rudder to your ship. You can't move on from Life 1.0 until Life 2.0 has a destination. Life 2.0 does not come complete with its own destination. It is customizable, not as a feature, but as a requirement. You must have a destination. What does your life look like? Now, you don't need to have all the details worked out. In fact, you don't even have the final destination worked out. In fact, I would argue that your destination is going to change many times over the next 30, 40, 50 years. It's going to evolve. It's going to become something new and better and different. It's like climbing the mountain. You know, when you're climbing steeply up a mountain, you can't see what's behind it. You get to the top and you see there's another mountain behind that, and on and on and on. So there's always going to be a mountain to climb. There's always going to be a new destination to reach. But you need to reach that first one. You need to have that first one set up. And if you're just going through a divorce, it might be as simple as, I just need my own place in a nice area where I can find peace in my life. I need to establish my own living situation. That might be your first mountain. That's okay. It doesn't need to be something that goes on for decades. It may just need to be something that goes on for a couple of months. Or maybe for the guy that wrote me that letter, for Alan, maybe it's just standing up to his wife and saying, I can't live like this anymore. We're at a crossroads. Either this changes or this ends, but we can't continue on this path anymore. That might be the first mountain that you need to claim, that you need to climb. So start with a vision. You got to have a plan. You got to think, where am I going? And then you got to start taking meaningful steps in that direction. You got to start pushing yourself to achieve these goals, one after another, after another, after another, until you own your life. You are no longer predictable and compliant. You are no longer sacrificing for this life that you didn't care about. You know what I mean? Step 3 has 2 aspects to it. 1, you become self-validating, and 2, you have an internal locus of control. Self-validating means that you are the judge, jury, and executioner in your own life. You're the only voice that matters, okay? Now, you can get opinions from other people, you can get advice, but at the end of the day, you're the decider, as George Bush liked to call himself, the great decider. You're the one. You got to decide. You celebrate your victories and you reconcile your losses. You understand that this is your life. This is your path forward. This is a subjective experience. This is not something that anyone outside of you can judge. Only you. So from a subjective perspective, if you look at your life and the path that you take from this point forward, you're going to have successes and failures. How you evaluate those things and how you internalize that is critical. And this is where this internal locus of control comes, because you're not seeking external validation. You're not seeking anyone else's objective approval of what you're doing. So you internalize your motivation and your desires, and you internalize the subjectivity of whether that's a success or a failure and what that really means to you. So I can guarantee you that no one ever really succeeded at anything without failing at it a lot first, you know? So you can see these failures as some kind of an emotional crisis, or you can just see it as one more step on the path towards your eventual success. The way you internalize that is critical, because from that internal perspective, you decide the meaning that these things have. Meaning is the key to this whole thing. These events, these ideas, these thoughts, they have no meaning except the meaning that you give it. When you understand that, then you realize that all of life is subjective. There are no objective rights and wrongs. Everything just has meaning that you give it. And this is all back to your belief systems and all that stuff. There's a lot we can go into with that, but when you decide what the meaning of this success or this failure or this event or whatever it is, you internalize it and decide how you're going to use that information to help you achieve your goal. You know, everything, good, bad, or otherwise, subjectively, becomes ammunition, becomes tools, becomes the material, the scaffolding of your life going forward. This is how you build what you want. This is part of the process. You know what I mean? You're never really failing until the clock runs out, you know? Like, this isn't a a timed event. You know, you go to the end, you know. Success doesn't show up on a scoreboard one day and say, yeah, you won the game. No, this game goes to the end. This game goes to the end. And you're always playing. There's no stopping. You're playing your best all the time. And sometimes you're going to score points, and sometimes you're going to give a few up. But at the end of the day, it's all about playing the game well. That's what it's about. Number 4 are the boundaries, and I mentioned this earlier. Boundaries are so critical because these are rules that you're setting for yourself. Basically, you're saying to yourself, the rules of my game require that other participants play in certain ways. If they're not going to follow the rules of my game, then they're not playing with me anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to have these rules, whatever they are, that you apply not only to others, but to yourself. You know, so you're going to set boundaries externally so that other people can't fuck up your life. But then you got to set them to yourself so you don't fuck up your own life. You know, these boundaries work both ways. So it's really critical that you decide what they are and you understand that this behavior from yourself or from anyone else is unacceptable. You will not have that. That's not an option in this game. All games require rules. This is where you set yours. You don't necessarily need to know what they all are before the game starts. In fact, I would argue that you're going to learn about boundaries as you move forward, because people are going to confront you with stupid shit and you're going to say, I can't deal with that. That's a new boundary. I'm putting that one up right now. So don't fret about it. It'll feel natural to you. You'll know it. When you feel that discord inside you, you know, that sound, that reverberation of, ooh, that doesn't feel right, that doesn't harmonize with me, you'll know it when you feel it. And then you'll think it through and say, you know something, that was telling me something. That little dissonance, that sound, that feeling of being out of harmony, that was my indication that I need to change things up. Or I need to avoid that person, or I need to prevent her from acting in that way. You'll know it and you'll do it. And if you don't do it, that's when you start falling back into life 1.0. That's when you start giving up your self-respect. That's what's not acceptable anymore. We cannot allow that to happen. And these boundaries prevent that. These boundaries are designed to prevent it. Number 5, you've got to be focused on self-improvement. So you are the player in the game. The skills, talents, abilities that you develop along the way are those that are going to help you achieve whatever it is you want. Now, like in a video game, you know, you can win certain capabilities and have them added to your, to your war chest or whatever. Well, in real life, you've got to develop these. You've got to learn them. You've got to read books, meet people, do things, go places, be active. You've got to make this part of your experience. You cannot win the next battle with the weapons that you lost the last battle with. You know what I mean? Like, in order for you to win this next battle, you got to sharpen your tools. You got to sharpen your weapons. You need to become the weapon that that's going to win. You need to be smarter. You need to be emotionally more aware and thoughtful. You need to be intellectually more capable, sharper, more aware, thoughtful, educated. And then spiritually, you need to be more grounded. You need to know where your power comes from. You need to know and have faith that you're on the right path, that there is a bigger picture here, that you are just playing your role, if you will, and that you're part of something bigger. When you have all that together, it empowers you to create more easily. It allows you to win these battles much more readily. In fact, they don't even become battles anymore. They're just like little skirmishes. You just blow right through them. There are no problems. Life becomes easier. The challenges that would have drowned you 5 or 10 years ago are just bumps in the road now. You barely even think about them. You just roll right over it because you're more capable. And you can't be like that until you develop yourself. You've got to be a better version of yourself. If you ever want to have another relationship again, you cannot go into the next relationship with the guy that ended the last relationship. You got to make that guy better. You got to make him smarter, better looking, thoughtful, physically stronger, healthier. You know what I mean? You got to just be a better version of yourself. And that means self-improvement. If that means you got to read those stupid self-help books, then do it. Read books on philosophy, read the Stoics, work out, get out in nature, walk, meditate, be reflective, plan, use this brain that you have, the rational thought that you're capable of. You can do this if you put in the work. This becomes really, really easy when you do the work. Finally, you need to embrace your masculinity. This is critical. Real masculinity is not toxic and it's not performative. Strong men protect without controlling people. Strong men lead without dominating. And strong men stand their ground not to overpower others, but to defend what they know is right. These are the characteristics of a healthy, strong, masculine man. It's not about abusing other people or dominating other people or enforcing your will on someone else. That is performative bullshit. That's toxic. That's not even masculinity. That's cowardice. That's the kind of bullshit that weak men do because they're physically stronger than someone else, but they're morally bankrupt. That is not masculinity. Just make it very, very clear. But when you can embrace that authentic, pure, good, healthy masculinity, you can achieve even more. Your path becomes so much easier because now your self-image, your self-respect is so strong. It's so powerful. You're going to draw people into you. People are going to want to be led by you. People are going to seek you out for relationships. So be healthy, be strong, be a leader, stand your ground, be values-based, know who you are as a man. Do not allow yourself to fall into the trap of weak, toxic behaviors. Just because you're physically bigger and stronger doesn't mean you dominate, Being physically stronger and bigger means that you have the ability to stand your ground and to lead in ways that women and children can't. So use that power for good. When you embrace the Life 2.0 philosophy and you start living your life from an authentic perspective for yourself, not because you're selfish, but because you know that when you're strong and you're happy and you're healthy and you're capable of giving to others in a more meaningful way, everyone benefits. You become a lifeline for all the people that you care about. If you're a doormat, you can't help anyone. You can't help anyone. When you've lost your self-respect, you have lost your ability to provide and protect at the very, very deepest level. So don't allow yourself to fall into that trap. Do not allow yourself to fall into it. When you think about your children and leaving a marriage, and I know that's one of the big issues that guys have, like the marriage is sucking them dry, is taking their self-respect. They feel like they have nothing left to give, but damn it, they want to be there for those kids. When you have self-respect, you will have your children's respect. When you have self-respect and you're able to give to them in meaningful ways, not just monetarily, but intellectually, spiritually, in emotional ways, man, you're rewriting history. Like you're rewriting the world. You're rewriting the future. You're changing things in a positive way that will reverberate not only in your lifetime, but in lifetimes to come. Because you're setting an example of what it means to be a healthy, self-respecting man. And there are too few of those around these days, man. There are too few of those around. And when you become that guy and you're on your mission and you're living your life, your personal experience is going to be of self-satisfaction, happiness, less stress. You're going to wake up every morning and you're going to feel great. You're going to be looking forward to the days and the things that you have to do and the people that you're going to see. You're going to meet better quality women. You're going to meet people that you never thought existed. You're going to think, I did not realize that there were women at that age that have no social media, who aren't narcissists, who actually are kind and loving, who haven't had a plethora of sexual partners, you know, who have a list longer than the phone book. No, you're going to find really good, healthy, normal, what you would think of as good people. The reason you're not finding them now in life 1.0 is because you're not living your life authentically. You're not who you are supposed to be. You're not the man you were meant to be. And so you're not finding the people that you were meant to find. How could you? You're not living your own life. You see what I mean? When you're not living your own life, nothing is as it should be. You're living in this quasi weird little universe where everything is out of place. Be your man, be yourself, live your life, and everything falls into alignment. It's like, wait a second, this is the way things are supposed to be the whole time. I should have been living this life from the very beginning. Anyway, I think I've said enough. That's all I got for you today. If you want to learn more about Life 2.0, I am going to get this book published. I swear to God. I am just going through this editing process, and it's just tedious. It's just tedious editing. But I will get it done, hopefully by the end of the week. I know I said that last week, but it's going to get done, and I'm going to put it up on the website. I think I'm going to put it on Amazon. You know, I'm going to see if I can get more guys involved in this. You know, there is so much toxic bullshit on the internet these days, especially as it comes to masculinity. And if you find this message, what I'm talking about here today, as being something that that resonates with you, and you think this is a message that should go out to other guys, please like and subscribe. Make comments. Get involved in the community. The engagement in the comment section is insane. The thing I love most about this process of making these videos is reading through those comments. And I think there's like 3,000 or 4,000 comments every single week. I can't even get to them all. I probably dedicate an hour a day just reading through comments and trying to answer as many as I can. Get engaged, because the content in the comments, I'd say, is just as good, if not better, than the content in the video. All right, you guys, that's all I got. Stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.